The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello there, folks, and welcome to Young Engineers of Today, first webinar for the fall of 2015. Can everybody hear me? All right, nice use of the hand raised. I will go over the hand raising a little bit later, but it's good to know that I am heard. I'm just going to give it about one more minute before I get started, just in case anybody is having some trouble logging in or anything. I know that I don't see any familiar names here, so it looks like most of y'all are new. If not, I apologize. But I'll give it just a second before I get started. All right, looks like everybody that wanted to show up is on time today. And if they come in late, I'll talk to them then. So, quick introduction. Again, welcome to Young Engineers of Today. My name is Miss Saunders. I have been working with Young Engineers of Today for a couple years now, and I love it. It's a lot of fun. I graduated from NC State in aerospace engineering, and as a result, I'm a huge fan of specifically aerospace things, but I also I'm a fan of a lot of different engineering topics, and so that's what you're here for, right? We are going to be teaching you a whole bunch of different engineering topics that you will be able to use in the real world. So that's a quick introduction, just to see if you are the kind of person who could probably become an engineer, which I'm assuming y'all are. Here's a couple of traits that you might find that you have. Do you like to take things apart? Would you find building a game more fun than playing the game? Curious about knowing how to solder, or use epoxy, or to repair a tent with needle and thread? Do you enjoy math or science? If you're an engineer, you most definitely will. Yeah, I see a hand raised there. That's what's up. I love math. And do you read science fiction or fantasy? Because you are the future, you can actually build things that you find in science fiction novels. And if you have found any of these to apply to you, welcome, because you are among friends. So I'm seeing that Mr. D has showed up. Hey there, Mr. D. I don't know if he's actually here or not, but he can chime in whenever he wants to. So anyways, we are Young Engineers of Today, and we do a lot of these things, unsurprisingly. Our goal is to teach you by doing things. You're not just going to be learning with your head. You're not going to be sitting there bored, just waiting for the end of the day. You're actually going to be using your hands as well, meaning you're actually going to be physically doing the things that we teach you. So that includes, I'll go over an exact list in just a couple minutes here. That includes programming, that includes building. It includes a lot of different things that engineers would typically do in, every single day. We want you to become a technology creator and not just a consumer. So all these iPhones and things are pretty cool, but with enough practice, with wiring, with building, you'll be able to do so many things that you couldn't before, meaning that there is so many ideas that you can put into fruition that you have been thinking about for a while. We want you to eventually be able to build, not just to use. Sound good? So I see a question here. Where is the hand raise? All right. So the hand raise, I'm not too familiar with how your interface looks. The hand raise should be on the GoToWebinar panel. It looks literally just like a hand. If you are there, Mr. D, do you have any insight to where the hand raise would be? Because I'm not entirely sure where it is on the attendees. And if he doesn't chime in, I'm going to hope that... Okay, so you found it, Devin? And I'll go over that in just a minute if you're wondering what on earth I'm talking about. Okay, cool. And so I see you also found the questions pane, which is wonderful. That's what we're looking for. The questions pane is to be used by you to ask me questions. I love answering your questions. I want to help you all learn as effectively as possible. And so don't be afraid. Anyhow, go ahead and move over to sort of the architecture of our class. Our class meetings are going to be twice a week for 1 hour via webinar. So that's what we're doing right now. I do host webinars on Mondays and Wednesdays, and there are 2 times that you can potentially show up. You can either come to the 4 p.m. webinar or the 6 p.m. webinar. Obviously, this is the 6 p.m. If you can't make it to the 6 p.m., then definitely come to the 4 p.m. if you can. If you can't, I will be uploading everything onto YouTube after every day. So please make an effort to watch the YouTube channel if you are not able to make it to the actual webinar. I do like, let me see, I have a question real quick, let me see. The channel name is Young Engineers of Today, and I will later on give you a link to subscribe to it. So don't worry if you don't have it right now, or if you don't want to look for it right now. I'll give you an actual link and everything so you can subscribe. Yeah, no problem, Mason. Let me think what I was going to say. Oh yeah, I do like when you're on time. I don't like to repeat myself. It's not fair to the other students that were on time. So please, if you are showing up, or if you are going to show up a couple minutes late, while it will behoove you to come to our, or to watch the webinar, sorry, I also heavily suggest you watch the YouTube video afterwards, so I'm not holding up other students. So I'm hearing Mr. D. Hey there.
Yeah, here I am. I totally support Ms. Saunders on this. But we really are going to start on time, and we'll have all webinars. Good news, all the webinars are going to be recorded. If you, for some reason, you just get 15 minutes late, jump in. But it's, if you think about it and you have no way of knowing, you're sitting in your computer, you're thinking, well, it's just really me and maybe 2 other people. Right now, we have 12 people on. So it's, if we come in late, it's not fair to those 11. We will put up the YouTubes. When we get to programming and do more elaborate things, we will even put up the PDF so you can follow along. Okay, everybody? I think that's being fair. I think if you're there on time, you wouldn't want to have to fill up everyone else. So try to get here. Try to log on before 6. If we ask you to install the software, please install the software before we get started. All right? Today's a little bit of a funky day. Today's can be a little bit boring because we're going to ask you to put on Edmodo. We're going to put on YouTube and, you know, some things that you may be saying, well, I've already done this. We understand, but it's like that first day of class. There's just, we want to make sure everybody's subscribed to YouTube and everybody has their Edmodo code. So that way we can get the message out to people, all right? So it's not we're trying to be punishing anyone or anything like that. So Ms. Saunders, if you'd like to keep going, go for it.
All right. So those are how the webinar sessions work. 1 hour twice a week. You can choose which one you want to go to. We also have every 2 weeks a lab session in whichever city you may be in. Specifically, Charlotte, Harrisburg, and Raleigh will have lab sessions. which will just go over some of the material and give you some hands-on experience with what we're doing. I am actually the teacher for the labs up in Raleigh, so you'll get to meet me in person if you're one of the folks in Raleigh. Otherwise, I'm not sure who your teachers are. The people in Charlotte.
Can I jump in here? First of all,
Yeah.
Miss Saunders is very modest. The woman's an aerospace engineer, folks.
I am.
Very bright lady here. A lot of experience. She's been with me a couple of years now. She really is quite knowledgeable. My name is Mr. Dubik. I'll be teaching the labs with Mr. Taylor here in Charlotte, as well as the Harrisburg labs. So the labs are really being taught by either myself, Carolyn, or Miss Saunders, or Mr. David Taylor, or Mr. Taylor. So just give you an update on that.
Yeah, so you'll be meeting us, so don't fret. Labs are a great time though, and to those of you in Raleigh, we will actually be going one weekend down to Charlotte so that we can use the Fab Lab, I believe it's in Charlotte Latin, to use the laser cutter, the CNC machine maybe, not entirely sure, that's a couple months from now, so we'll worry about that then. But Charlotte folks, I believe are split into two groups, one Tuesday group and one Thursday group. The Tuesday group in Charlotte has a lab tomorrow at 5 p.m. The Thursday group has a lab on Thursday, unsurprisingly, at 5 p.m. in Charlotte. Raleigh has their first lab on the 12th, I believe, so not for another week and some change. But Harrisburg, I need to double check on when you have your labs. So that's, when we meet with you together. Now, we don't do homework in this class, but sometimes we will expect you to do things in your own time, depending on what it is. Sometimes I will ask you to download some software. I'd really like if you got this software downloaded in between classes, if I ask you. Sometimes we'll have some extra lessons in a program that I will want you to do. But other than that, there's no homework. I'm not going to grade you on it. I'll probably just scold you and be a little bit irritated, but it's okay. Just please do your best to do that if you can. We also don't have tests. We're really not grading you. Our goal is for you to have fun and for you to learn something that you wouldn't be able to learn in a traditional school setting. So it's not like we're going to be like, oh, you don't know how to do recursive statements in Python or something. We want you to have fun. We really do. One thing we do expect from you, though, is to build a digital portfolio. So over the next 2 weeks, we will be building a Google site page. Keep in mind we do not have webinar next Monday, and I will remind you later. This Google Sites page, though, we will actually build on our own using HTML. It'll essentially be a blog of everything that you do in the class. So what I'm expecting is for you to take pictures of the things you do in labs and maybe write a little bit of what you did during the webinars each week. So say one week we are coding in Python. Just write what we've learned maybe, and maybe even some of your code. What I want you to do with this portfolio is be able to show people in your future that, hey, I did this. And to show yourself, hey, I did this, I can teach myself how to do it again, so you don't touch over a couple years. So I do have a question here. Can we do this in PowerPoint? You could, but that's not what I'm asking you to do. We will be spending a couple classes using HTML to do this on Google Sites. If you want to do it in both Google Sites and in PowerPoint, great. That would probably look really good, especially in the long term when you're applying for college or even applying to programs in high school. But I really would like you to have a digital portfolio that's not PowerPoint. Because I kind of do want to check up on it occasionally, be like, hey, you haven't done this, what have you been doing? Not that I don't trust you to be doing something, but because I want it to benefit you in the future. this is stuff that we're going to be, or there's stuff in this class that we're going to do that I never got the chance to do when I was your age. This is a really, really cool program because, you know, schools just don't offer programming. They don't offer 3D printing and CAD programs. They don't offer how exactly planes work, for example. I would have loved to have this as a kid, and I'm not calling you kids. I guess y'all are young adults at this point. Nicely done, guys and gals. But basically, all things considered, I do want y'all to have a digital portfolio. We will be working on this Wednesday and the following Wednesday. And by working on this, I mean getting it started, getting the code ready and everything like that. So the topics that we will cover, which is subject to change, it just depends on what everybody's interests are at the time. We will be going over a little bit of civil engineering, which includes, you know, bridges and other structures for general public use. We'll be using a laser cutter to create a cardboard trophy head. A trophy head sort of like when you see like a deer, one of those deer heads on somebody's wall. It's something like that. The Raspberry Pi, we will use that. Is anybody familiar with the Raspberry Pi? Not a pie, but the electronic Pi. Okay, so I see a couple of them. A couple people saying they recognize it. The Raspberry Pi, to those who don't know, is essentially a mini computer and a microprocessor. So it's probably, you know, an inch thick by 5 inches long by 3 inches wide. It's a really, really tiny thing that's actually a fully working computer. And we'll be doing a whole bunch of stuff with that, designing a Raspberry Pi case, and probably, I'll tell you the program later, it's called 123D. We'll be doing Minecraft Pi. Minecraft Pi is a thing. It is the alpha version of Minecraft that can run on the Raspberry Pi. You can actually sort of hack it with Python, Python being a programming language. So it's really cool because you can code your own cool stuff to happen. We may be using creating a music server with it, so a place to store your music that you can access remotely. And I'm really hoping that we get to use the game arcade for Pi Play. What that means is we can use the Raspberry Pi to emulate older video games. So PlayStation, SNES, maybe the N64, maybe Dreamcast. We could potentially emulate that on your Raspberry Pi. And we'll also be doing some stuff with flight. To those of you, I don't know if anybody had done a class with us before, but we use this flight simulator software called X-Plane, which literally simulates an actual plane you could fly. There's all sorts of planes you can use. But we will be learning how planes fly, how aerodynamics works in general. This is my favorite part. That's the only reason I'm going on and on about it. And if you had done it before, there will be more to the curriculum than there was last year. For example, building our own foam planes. I'm hoping that we can, you know, remotely control them. That would be pretty cool. That's what Mr. D was mentioning earlier. So we'll use a whole bunch of different softwares and tools to do this. The first are 123D Design, 123D Circuits, and 123D Make. So these first three software are made by the same company, Autodesk, and they let us 3D model either, you know, solid objects. So say you have a pair of glasses on your desk, you can model that, you can model anything. Circuits is exactly what it sounds like, building circuits, so electricity. We will be talking a lot about that this semester and working with the Raspberry Pi to do what's called embedded computing, meaning that we will have our computer output something, so we can, say, make an LED light up, or we could make a servo move. Anyways, 123D Make, sort of similar to design, but a little bit more in depth. We're going to be using the 3D printer a lot. In Charlotte, they have 13 3D printers, so you can 3D print your own designs. Up in Raleigh, we've got 6. So there are no shortage of 3D printers. They are so cool, y'all will love them when you see them. Code Combat, which is going to help us learn Python. Again, a programming language, not a snake. It's a RPG style game, it's fun. Inkscape will help us learn some vector graphics. We'll be using the laser cutter, again in Charlotte. Mesh Mixer lets us sort of modify and create things for laser cutting and 3D printing based on objects we already have. We'll be doing Python, like I said, and we'll be using a vinyl cutter. Now, as I mentioned earlier to Devin, are you able to use or to raise your virtual hand? Are you able to click on this, not this button, but the equivalent button on your screen? I want everybody to raise their hand if they can right now. All right, Mason, are you having some trouble? So I need everybody's hands raised before I continue. I will be using the hand raise to see if everybody is caught up, to see if anybody is familiar with a certain idea or topic. It looks like just about everybody's got their hands up. So hopefully the one person who doesn't will get back to me on that one. At least you know how to use the question thing though. So that's the first thing that we need to do. The second thing is a little redundant. This is an old PowerPoint. It's asking, have you registered for all the webinars? In the past, we had 2 different webinars for each day for the middle schoolers, so you had to register for both. This year, you don't have to worry about it. If you register for one, you register for all of them. So you don't need to really worry about that. Just make sure you only need to come to one or the other, and we do record them and put them on the YouTube channel, which later I will explain how to get to. Okay, so has everybody registered for all the webinars? Meaning, have you registered for this webinar? I'm assuming yes, since you're here. All right. The next thing we need to do is register on Edmodo. So Edmodo is a website that is basically, it lets you basically, have a virtual classroom. So occasionally I'll be posting reminders of things that you need to do. I'll be posting cool things that may interest you. But basically what I want y'all to do, and I'm going to post this in our chat, I want y'all to go to edmodo.com. So it's exactly like it looks right here. Edmodo. See a question? Today, we are not going to be doing too much in terms of engineering. I'm going to go over what an engineer is specifically. I'm going to, if we get to it, go over a little bit about the engineering method and the scientific method. Today is more of a day to get everyone acclimated to the class and to get everybody on the same page in terms of contacting you. Because yeah, Edmodo is a good way to contact you in general, more so than email, I would say, just because everybody's there. So when you go to Edmodo, you should see something like this. So if you've done a class with Young Engineers of Today before, you don't need to sign up. You already have an Edmodo account. And if you have an Edmodo account, good. So you guys are a student. So let's click on I'm a student. And so I want you all to fill this out But what you may notice is this thing called group code. Has anyone used Edmodo before? Please raise your hand if you have. Okay, so a couple folks have. And if you have, that's great. I'm glad you sort of know what's going on here. If you haven't, like I said, it's a virtual classroom. You will need to put in the group code which corresponds with where your lab is going to be. So if you're in Raleigh, it's going to be in Raleigh. In or near Raleigh, I should say. If you're in or near Harrisburg, sign up for Harrisburg. If you're in or near Charlotte, sign up for Charlotte. So in the chat pane, I'm going to send you the codes. Now Charlotte's interesting because it has 2 days of lab. And I think that Mr. D has probably assigned you to certain lab sessions. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to tell you which one to register for. So I have a question real quick. Let's see what you have to say. Waiting for me to approve my request of what? A request to join the group. Which group are you going to be in? Are you in Raleigh or Charlotte or elsewhere? Or Harrisburg, sorry. Charlotte. Alright, I'm actually not in the Charlotte groups yet, which I need to do real quick. So Charlotte Tuesday group, Charlotte Thursday group. Oops, I didn't mean to send that twice. No, I didn't send that twice. Middle school Thursday. Okay, so let me join that group real quick. I've been also added to the approval queue. I think the Charlotte groups are going to be approved by Mr. D. So if it's not letting you join any of the Charlotte groups, I know you will be approved very soon. I'm not sure why it's doing that, but yeah, only one of those worked. But if it's asking you for approval, don't worry, it'll come very soon. So there's Charlotte. Now Harrisburg Middle School. Raleigh. And if you are elsewhere and intend to commute, for instance, I had a student in my other class in Winston-Salem, there is your code. So please take a few minutes. If you're just now logging into Edmodo for the first time, go ahead and use that as your group. Otherwise, if you go to the home menu and click join a group, you can enter in the code that I sent you there. If you have joined the group that you are supposed to be in, please raise your hand. I want to get everybody on the same page so that there is no confusion, so that everybody will have the ability to, have the same information essentially. Also, if you're confused, like I said, please ask me questions. I am here to answer your questions. Don't be afraid to just ask. going to give you about 30 more seconds. If you're having trouble, please tell me to slow down. In fact, that goes for everything that I do. If you're having trouble understanding what I'm saying, don't be afraid to ask. If you can't hear me, don't be afraid to tell me. Like Mr. D said, I am modest, but I really respect your needs as well. Alright, the question was, can you join it after class? You're having trouble with the browser. You're not able to open up another tab simultaneously. You may. Just make sure that you write down the code for your individual section. I can always get you the code later, but I'd like for everybody to be on by Wednesday. And in fact, Mr. D will be coming onto our webinars to see if everybody has signed up for it. He's going to be going through your names being like, oh, I don't see you in any of my sections. So don't think that you can get away with not having one. But yes, Devin, you may join it after class. Just make sure you have the right code written down. Alright, so I'm going to continue. Again, get that account made ASAP. So the last thing on our checklist is to make sure you have a Gmail account. You don't necessarily need to have a Gmail email, but you do need to have an account with Google. We will be using Google Sites next Wednesday and the following Wednesday to create our digital portfolio. So you will need a Gmail account. So I'm going to put your hands down. Please raise your hand if you either have a Gmail email or a Gmail account. I need to see your hands raised here, folks. If you don't have, or if you do have one, sorry. Alright, so if you do not have a Gmail account, well, sorry, if you have a Gmail email, you have a Google account. That is good. If you do not have a Gmail email or a Google account, I'm not sure if this link will work, but I hope it does. I'm sending you a link so that you can type in your current email and furthermore create an account on your own. You don't necessarily have to do this right now, but I do expect you to have one by next Wednesday. Remember that I said I don't do homework? This is one of the homework things I expect you to do. So I see a question here. Sorry you're late, your computer was working. You're all good, Sam. I recognize you from last semester. Which location are your labs going to be in? Are you in Charlotte or Harrisburg? Because I need to send you the Edmodo code. You're in Charlotte. Do you know if you're in the Tuesday or Thursday lab? You're an alternate lab? Alright, I'm going to give you this as your Edmodo code. So I think alternate is the Saturday workshops. Am I correct? Well, even if you don't know, it's not going to let you... Okay. All right, cool. Yeah, it's not going to let you sign in immediately because it's going to ask for your approval, or for approval. Oh, I see what you meant, Sam. Sorry. Well, that's one of the Edmodo codes. The other one for you, Sam, is going to be this one. So I'd like for you to do both of those, but they will have the same information included in both. So the Saturday labs are going to be the same as the Thursday Charlotte labs. So I'm going to request that you just go ahead and write down the code for now. I am going to continue. I'm almost done with the boring pre-teaching stuff. Like I said earlier, I'm not going to be teaching much today, especially if you've already gone through one of our classes before. What time is the lab on the 12th? Are you referring to the to the Raleigh lab? Let me check really quick. Typically, they're at 11:30, but I need to double check that as well. All right, so where was I? All right. The last thing that I'm wanting you to do, if you already have a Google account, you should be able to subscribe to our YouTube channel. I'm going to send that to you also in a link, and I apologize for having so dang many things for you to do today in terms of signing up. I know it's not fun. But if you subscribe to our channel, you will be able to watch videos if you miss them. And there's so many videos of past years' classes, so if you have interest in other things that we're not covering this semester, you can always watch those too. We share them publicly, so you should be able to access them anywhere, provided you don't have a parental block on your computer. But go ahead and click on the link or search for Young Engineers of Today on YouTube. You'll know you're in the right place if you see the green robot head. And then you can click on subscribe. It should be like, whoa, subscribed. As you can see, years of classes have been archived. That said, if you do miss a webinar, I want you to watch the video before you email me asking, hey, Ms. Saunders, what do we do during class? If you have questions from there, you can definitely email me. I'm going to send yet another link to you, which I'll probably send you a million times. My email is saunders.yeot@gmail.com. And don't worry if you don't get that, just ask me during class if you need it again. So I'm going to put your hands down. I would like for you to raise your hand if you have done or have essentially done, meaning you're going to do it immediately after class, all of these things on the checklist here, which I just realized my screen wasn't being shared. I'm so sorry. I hope that wasn't too confusing. Please raise your hand if you've done or will very soon, like tonight, do all of these. Like I said, I know, I apologize for it being boring and stuff. I'm going to put hands down. Anyone need more time to do this before I go a little bit into engineering? And raise your hand if you need more time. Okay. Then I will continue. So that's the end of that. Now we're going to go into a little bit of what I'm going to be teaching you today, which is stuff that you might already know, but that's okay. There's no harm in learning things more than once. The first thing that we're going to talk about is what exactly is an engineer. Does anybody want to throw out any ideas about what an engineer is? You don't have to. All right, Noah, would you like to speak to us? I will unmute you about what an engineer is.
I think an engineer is someone who, codes or programs, like build robotics.
Yeah, an engineer could definitely do that. Anything to add to that before I remute you?
No.
Okay, no, that's definitely a good thing that an engineer could do. I'm also seeing in a question of a problem solver. That's a really, really good one as well. Engineers, they do build, they create, they solve problems. Specifically what an engineer is, and thank y'all for your input, that I definitely appreciate it. I'll occasionally ask questions and have folks answer them via talking. I won't always have you unmuted, but if you do have a question that's too long to type, ask to be unmuted and I can unmute you so you can talk. I recommend having a microphone for this, like I said, or I didn't say that earlier. I recommend having a microphone so that I can talk to you if needed. So an engineer is the practical application of science and math, as in the design and construction of machines, vehicles, structures, roads, and systems. But there's so much more to engineering than just that. I mean, any Joe Schmo can say, all right, I want to build a bridge. But if they don't have any background in engineering, they're probably just going to try to get a couple planks and throw it over the river or whatever. That's not going to last very long. That's not a good example of engineering at all. Really what engineers aim to do in general is to use math and science to improve the world. They want to make life easier for everybody. They want to improve what we've got going on right now, essentially. So what makes a good engineer? And this kid probably has a decent future in engineering. I mean, that's pretty sweet what he's got going on there. I hope he enjoys it. Engineers have a couple of different traits they tend to have to be successful. They definitely need to be strong in math and science. And a lot of what we're going to be doing in this course, it's not so much math, but learning a lot about science. I'm not going to make you crunch numbers. That's kind of boring. Let's be real here. They do need to be problem solvers who show perseverance. So it's going to be tough, but you got to just deal with it and keep going. And they need to be able to work as a team and to communicate effectively. I know that a lot of you are probably a little bit introverted. I most certainly am as well. But if you're really, really interested in what you're doing, you're not going to want to be introverted. But you do need to learn how to talk with others to effectively get your ideas across. So I see a question. Got to move that gear up. I don't think I know that reference. I can still high five you though, right? What's it from, Wyatt? I play video games. What video games? That said, if anybody here is a Pokemon fan, it's probably my favorite thing in the world. So, Team Fortress 2. I've never played that, even though I do own it. You know how Steam libraries go. Do I play Kerbal? Yes. I actually designed the entire curriculum that Young Engineers of Today has for Kerbal. We're not going to be going over Kerbal this semester. I'm not very good at Kerbal, I'm going to be real, even though I understand the orbital mechanics. I do not play Minecraft, but I have indeed played it before. We are going to be using Minecraft for our Raspberry Pis in the future. I landed on the moon in Kerbal. I got off the moon and now I'm stuck in orbit around Kerbin. I played Portal and Portal 2, but never Half-Life. But as I do more webinars with y'all, you'll realize that I'm just like you, except older. I love video games. I'm just a big kid on the inside who... I love Portal. I cannot wait if there is a Portal 3 to come out. But like I said, we'll get there. Don't worry. Y'all will hopefully accept my silly love of video games. I have played some Half-Life, but that is a little bit... I'm trying to keep this focused in engineering. I have played some. I'm just not very good at shooters. / melee fighting things. Anyways. That said, I love y'all's enthusiasm. I love it. Not all of you are good? Okay, fair enough. But I'm not good at the basic level. So engineers do need to be strong in maths and sciences. This is a very good explanation of how my schooling went. Just a lot of work. At this point in your education, though, it's not going to be this. You're going to be having fun at this point in your education. That's my goal. I want you to pursue a career in science or engineering or math, because that is where all the jobs are. It's where the money is. That is where the future is. And I'll show you proof of that in just a minute here. So we need to be strong in math and science. So I do see another question real quick about the word zombie. I saw her standing there, but she was a zombie. No, I have not played that. I have played Zombies Ate My Neighbors, though. That game is fun. It's a very old game. I did play a lot of zombie games back in the day, too. But now I feel like an old person. Anyways, engineering is the application of math and science principles. Because of this, it's essential that engineers have a strong foundation of the two subjects. So obviously, even though we're not going to be doing much math and we'll be learning a lot of science in here, you got to be pretty good at both. Not great, you don't have to be a math superstar, but you will need to study hard, regardless of what kind of engineering that you get into. It's a lot of work, I'm not going to lie to you, but the reward is amazing. It feels so good to get a degree in engineering after you've worked so hard. It's like, yes, I have done this. Like I said, you don't have to be great at it. Depends on what you choose to do. So engineers need to be able to work as a team and communicate effectively. So I know there's a lot of memes in this presentation. It kind of cracks me up. But Dwight, for example, he's from The Office. He is very literal. He's not a very good team player. He really just cares about advancing in his job, and he's kind of a huge jerk. I don't like Dwight very much, even though he's kind of funny. Don't be Dwight. You don't want to be Dwight. Nope. To solve these problems, engineers have to come together to combine their expertise. So I want you to think about, do you think your schooling is the exact same schooling as folks in India? Yeah, okay, a lot of people like Dwight. He just frustrates me. I guess he's just like goody-goody, which is not a bad thing in general, but how old is he? Oh, that wasn't directed at you. Don't worry. Oh, I hear what you said. Dwight. Dwight is this guy. Don't worry, Wyatt. I'm not talking about you. I don't even know you. Not yet, at least. Okay, cool. But yeah, engineers, people in India aren't going to know the same things as you do. They have different life experiences. They have different schooling. They have different points of view. You have to work with all sorts of different people to get a complete, unbiased view of any decisions that you make in a group. So not only do you have to know the answer to be successful, but you have to be able to share it successfully. And unfortunately, webinars aren't as great as classrooms because we can't speak to each other. It's just me basically talking and you talking to me. That's what the labs are for, though, so y'all can collaborate and get some experience working with others. So if you don't know how to communicate effectively, something like this might happen. This is a very, very old comic, but a very accurate one. So the user, being, some random dude, wants a swing. And so he designed the swing like this. And depending on how your experiences depending on how your experiences influence what you want it to be, it could change the design of your swing dramatically. So even the user wanted something that looked more like this, even though he described it like this. You have to be an effective communicator to make sure that, like this doesn't happen or this doesn't happen. That doesn't make any sense. Communication is key. Finally, you need to be problem solvers and show perseverance. This guy frustrates me because he reminds me of a lot of my professors. Engineers are presented with problems that are really, really big. Like I said with the bridge earlier, you can't just, throw some stuff together and have a bridge. You actually have to plan for it. You have to say, okay, well, I want a bridge from here to here. I want it to have to be able to hold a certain amount of cars. I need to get permits. I need to analyze the land, blah, blah, blah. Basically, engineers are just big old puzzle solvers. So we find a problem, we solve it. That's all we want to do. Well, that and be awesome, but who doesn't want to be awesome? All these big problems do seem impossible when you start, but you have to keep working regardless of how difficult it may seem. You have to persevere even though stuff doesn't always work out great. Exactly, Wyatt's got it right. The universe is a maze and we're solving it. So even though physicists aren't technically engineers, physicists are solving the puzzle pieces of the universe. But anyways, there are all sorts of different kinds of jobs for engineers. This is the groaner of the meme. It is progress. Knowing anything is better than nothing, right? Don't mess with an electrical engineer, it mega hurts. Facepalm. Also an inappropriate use of the meme, but that's me being pedantic here. So there's all sorts of different kinds of fields of engineering. Civil, building bridges, building public things. Mechanical, cars, and all sorts of things with motors. Electrical, circuits, chemicals, aerospace. Blah, blah, blah. Anyways, what I'm going to say is that aerospace and all of these other, you're asking what is Team Fortress? It's just it's a game. There's two different teams. You fight for a flag or something. I haven't played much of it. That probably sounds really dumb to those who uh, are familiar with it. But with engineering, just because you are inside of one of these fields doesn't mean you're only using that field. So aerospace, for example. Oh yeah, well now you know it's a video game, Noah. Aerospace, for example, has aspects of all sorts of different engineering. So structural, we have to build the structures of material or of the plane. Electrical, we have to build all the electrical systems so that the flaps work. Mechanical, we have to build engines. Chemical, we have to design new jet fuels. It's very triangles equals life? What are you even talking about? Oh, and structures, gotcha. I prefer the hexagonal pattern, or honeycomb, if you will. But just because you know one field doesn't mean you're not using other fields. So engineering is not just a guy in a hard hat. It's not just a guy sitting at the computer, sitting at the computer watching a screen all day. There's all sorts of different kinds of jobs, from hands-on research, so, testing, or leading a team, seeing what other people design and presenting it to other people. There's a lot of stuff that you can do. There's also a ton of perks of the job. I mean, y'all are distracting me with these questions. Not as a bad thing, but I just want y'all to learn. Hope y'all are okay with me being distracted sometimes. Anyways, there are a lot of perks of the job. It's okay. I'm not mad. So this is kind of true. And it's true for almost any engineering you get into. So the first graph I'm going to show you, and maybe one of the last ones, is the earnings by each engineering group. So this is the median earning, and by that I mean half earn more, half earn less, of people with certain degrees. The orange is those with just a bachelor's, so that's just the 4-year degree. That's what I have. The median earning is $75,000. That's a ton of money. If you have your master's and are good at it, you can earn way more, and that's from any of these. Most of these are just, this is the one I'm looking for. Engineering is definitely the highest paid of these groups. Now, similarly, the specific types of engineering do make a difference. So notice that all of these, which are the top 10 majors that lead to high salaries, all of these are technical. So they're all engineering or physics or math or computer science. It's a lot of money, $160,000 after getting a master's. And finally, engineering does have a very high satisfaction rate, 47%. Think of how many people like their job. 47% is a lot for for any engineering, for any job. That's a good satisfaction rate. So I know I sort of rushed through those last couple slides, but it is 7 p.m., meaning that it is time to end the webinar today. Before I leave, before class ends, sorry, does anybody have any questions on anything that we did today, specifically the signing up for all these things? Any questions on that? So if you don't have any questions, you can leave. I'll see you all on Wednesday. If you do have questions, feel free to ask me them now. So if you gotta go, all is great. Go ahead. But if you have a question, go ahead and ask me. You don't have to raise your hand. Just ask so I can help you out. Yeah, no problem, Devin. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll talk to you all on Wednesday. Yes, Wednesday. We're doing some more cool stuff then, so don't you worry. And I'll be on just for a couple minutes to see if anyone has a question or not. Don't feel free to leave feel free to leave if you need. Alright, sounds good. Thanks a bunch, guys, for coming today. Y'all have a great semester ahead of you. Alright, so if there are no questions, I'm going to head out. Feel free to email me if you need, or to post onto Edmodo. And I'll talk to you Wednesday.